Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusterspod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Or shoot over and get some groovy merchandise at society6.com/filmbusters.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
So by the time this episode comes out, it will be in the past, but for us it's the future. The Halloween Ends trailer is going to be released on Wednesday, the 20th of July, if Jamie Lee Curtis's tweet is anything to go by today. And
We were.
Yes, indeed. They had the first test, what do they call it? Test screening?
Test screening, yeah.
Last night, where it was all obviously under embargo and things can change and stuff, but the mood is very positive. The couple of rumours that I've heard, one is that it will be more aligned with Halloween 2018 in terms of how it's received critically, but I'm also hearing that it's a very different Halloween movie. I get the implication that there ain't going to be a lot of Michael Myers in it. This is what I'm feeling.
Michael Myers is dead.
Well, he's not at the end of Halloween Kills, is he?
Yeah, but he's dead.
They can't kill him.
They tried.
They put him in when they compact the cars at the skips, they crush him to death.
Basically, he has too much power with the mask. They got to destroy the mask.
They just crush him in a car compactor.
It wouldn't matter. They'd find a way. Like, they would just, if they did that, the next film would go, oh yeah, that wasn't him. Like, I've been reading that. I've finished reading Taking Shape, which is this book, which has been such an amazing read, which has been all about the production of every Halloween film, the plans behind the scenes, the different storylines, the ideas and shit like that. And the bottom line is, Mustafa Akkad, who was the producer who owned the rights to Michael Myers originally, and now his son Malik Akkad, they're not terrible people, but they love Michael Myers. They love the fact that it's bringing them much money. They're never going to let it die.
Much money.
Regardless of which studio it sits with at any given time. Like, currently it's with Dimension and Blumhouse has the rights. When this trilogy ends, regardless of what happens, if Michael Myers dies or if Jamie Lee Curtis dies or whatever, it will not be long. It won't be many years before there's a new iteration of the story. It's not going to end Michael Myers, but it will end this little... this subsection of it.
This little universe of Michael Myers that's restarted.
Yes. Like, the longest gap between Halloween films was Halloween Resurrection. Between Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and the 2018 reboot. I think that was 9 years. That's the longest gap there's been between Halloween movies.
Doesn't even feel that long, does it?
Between those two. So many. I'm very excited to see this trailer. I'm only going to watch it the one time.
To be over as well, though.
Well, I'm glad that it's not just going to run. I'm glad that they've said it's these three. Yes, I like that.
See, I know I'm going to watch it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, you know what? They revealed too much in the trailers.
Well, you know that Halloween Kills trailer, would you say that they revealed too much about the plot in that? I don't think so. Like, I didn't know we were going to be cast back to 78. They could have put that in there.
True. It's very true. Yeah. I think the 2018 version was the one that revealed too much. Like, all the...
Yeah, it did.
The smashing the head against the door, the teeth. Like, those were some gruesome facts that we already knew going in before.
They really had to draw people in for that one, though, didn't they? They had to be like, look, this is what we're doing with this Halloween. Come see.
Yeah, true. I'm excited just to see what kind of direction they're going. Like, just the setting, like what year it is, how long after it's been. Is Michael Myers wearing his COVID mask?
And is evil going to die tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Clearly not.
Evil never dies.
The beauty
Evil
of
was
that
all
evil
around
dies
us.
tonight is, the evil were the townspeople, the lynch mob. They all died.
They did.
And Judy Greer, she was evil, so she had to die.
It was so
Film
evil.
busters were evil.
I killed all of you.
You did.
Your wishes.
Yeah.
Broke us down.
Very dark.
Yes. So I'm happy. And speaking about Rob Zombie, there's another trailer doing the rounds at the moment, which I know Paul has seen. The fucking Rob Zombie version of The Munsters.
Yuck.
Did you ever watch The Munsters?
Yeah, I've seen random episodes when I was growing up.
Yeah, I remember seeing it when I was growing up. I never really liked it, don't think. But, I mean, it does feel very much like that. It just makes me ask why.
Yeah. But it just feels like it still feels very, very Rob Zombie. Like just the way everyone's talking, like the characters in it. It's just a bit like, oh god, we got enough. It's just another Rob Zombie one that's not going to be any good.
No, but it's interesting that it's going to remove all of the things that make a Rob Zombie movie a real Rob Zombie movie, i.e. the violence, the language. Like Rob Zombie doing what essentially seems to be a PG film. Intriguing. I'll give it a watch.
I hope it's really not PG, and then the studio go to watch it for the first time, and they're like, "What the fuck have you done?"
I know that would be great.
That'll be the surprise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah. Right, everyone. Today we're going for another round of 1982. We've got Adam's pick. What are we doing today, Adam?
We are picking on King of Comedy. We're not picking.
We're picking on it.
No, we're not picking on it. We're going to be discussing it and giving it cuddles.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, cuddles.
We will try to. Before we move on, let's just say we've got a nice little Patreon channel. We're doing an episode after this. What episode are we doing after this? Ben?
The next episode after this, well, Adam's given us a very convoluted topic. It's films that are remakes, but not officially remakes, i.e. King of Comedy inspiring Joker. So films in that vein.
It was very hard for me to pick some of these
It's got
films.
so hard that I've only got one.
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
you're the one who came
Patreon
up with the
pick.
topic.
You
I
came
know.
up with this topic.
I haven't really thought about it. I'll think about it when we're doing this.
Oh, what a naughty boy you are. What a naughty boy.
I've ended up with about 4, so we should be all right.
Okay, we've got enough to talk about. This is what you get on the Patreon channel, guys. This is the type of high-level quality you get.
Yes, of course. If you want to get to our Patreon channel where you can listen to the episode, it's at www.patreon.com/filmbusters. You've got exclusive episodes on there. You can suggest films us to do, and you can just be part of the Film Busters family. It's very lovely over there.
It is.
Yes.
We cuddle each other every so often.
We are always cuddling each other.
We are. This is our third morning record in a row. Everything in 1982 has been a morning
We've been
record.
a bit later in the day, though. We've gone like 8, half 8, 10-ish.
Very odd.
Yeah, I know. And when we record next week, I believe we're recording in the morning too.
Are we?
We actually are. We are.
Friday morning.
What's occurring?
I don't know. It's the morning round of 1982.
I wonder if the listeners can tell any difference.
Ben's high energy and Adam's very low energy. Ben's just had the
They
coffee.
can.
Adam's just had the sleep.
I just had yes. What time do you guys get up?
This morning, 6:45.
6:45. That's way
I was
too
the
early.
same, yeah. 6:45, yeah, same.
Most of these days, I wake up busting for a wee anyway. So
That bladder.
yeah,
Need to sort that out. Get a new one.
it's old age, mate. It's happening.
It's happening. Ben,
Yeah.
should we
Yeah.
move on to your segment of this episode?
Let's do a quiz, shall we? Everyone knows by now, but in case you don't, this is the quiz section where I ask the boys a couple of questions about the film we just watched. If they get the question right, they get a point, and if they get it wrong, I will be getting the point. As you all know, Paul is running away with things. He's got 22 points. He's going to win it this year, but let's see. Second class is me with 11 points, and third class is Adam with 9 points. So, are you ready for question 1?
Let's do these questions.
Right.
Let's go to the mall.
All right, listen closely. When Rupert hosts a fake talk show in his basement,
Mm-hmm.
he has a cardboard cutout of Jerry Langford and which famous
Liza
actress?
Minnelli.
Very good.
Easy.
Adam's reaction's so slow. Would you have got that, Adam?
Probably not.
Very unattentive. Very unattentive.
Liza Minnelli fell down those stairs, didn't she? The airport stairs
That's right.
to the plane.
Yes. Liza Minnelli is a dear one. We love her for Arrested Development.
Yes.
Yes.
Next question. That's a point for Paul, of course. Next question. This section has just turned into how much does Paul know about film?
Yeah.
It is really that.
Who provides the voice of Rupert Pupkin's mum?
Oh, I don't know that. I would not know.
Liza Minnelli.
That'd be funny. If it was Liza Minnelli, that'd be amazing.
That would be funny. I'm very surprised that the two of you don't know. It was Catherine Scorsese, Martin Scorsese's mother.
I was about to just throw that out there, just. But yeah,
You
can.
go.
That's fine.
Mama
That's obvious.
Scorsese.
He always puts his mother in the film. So there you go.
does,
So that
yes.
means Paul has got 23 points. I got a point there, so I got 12 points. And Adam still languishes with 9. Something significant's going to have to happen to really change shit up here.
Yeah, I know.
I just don't see it happening.
No.
We've never had such a runaway. I might just have to change the format of how I do these questions.
20 questions per episode.
Yeah. Dear. Okay. Well, that's me.
Right, cool. Should we move on to the main event?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rupert Pupkin. I was born in Clifton, New Jersey, which was not at that time a federal offense. Is there anyone here from Clifton? Oh, good. We can all relax now. Now, I'd like to begin by saying that my parents were too poor to afford me a childhood in Clifton. But the fact is, that no one is allowed to be really too poor in Clifton, because once you fall below a certain level, they exile you to Passaic. But my parents did put the first 2 down payments on my childhood, don't get me wrong. But they did also return me to the hospital as defective. But like everyone else, I grew up in large part thanks to my mother. If she were only here today, I'd say, "Hey, Mom, what are you doing here? You've been dead for 9 years." But seriously, you should have seen my mother. She was wonderful. Blonde, beautiful, intelligent, alcoholic. We used to drink milk together after school. Mine was homogenized. Hers was loaded. Once they picked her up for speeding. They clocked her doing 50. All right, but in our garage?
Right, everyone. Today we are doing a film, and it's a spoiler episode. We're doing The King of Comedy. It's a 1982 film by Martin Scorsese. We're going to go straight into spoilers. No hanging around. So if you haven't seen it, we will ruin it for you terribly. So you might want to go watch it first, and then come back and listen. And you do want to listen, because we're going to have some things to say, I'm sure. Before we go to Adam's rundown of the film, we got 2 people reprising their place on the Filmbusters mantelpiece.
Yeah.
We know who these people are, right?
De Niro.
It's got to be De Niro and Scorsese.
That's correct, yes. This is our 4th Scorsese picture.
What, behind the camera or in front of?
Behind. So it's, he's appeared in 2, Age of Innocence and this.
Oh, yeah.
But he's directed 4. So we have Irishman, Casino, Age of Innocence, and now this, King of Comedy.
Christ almighty. Is he now our most covered director on the podcast?
Yes, he sure is.
He must be. Wow.
Actually,
look at that.
whoa. Tony Scott. He's had 5.
Tony Scott.
Oh, yeah. Christ.
Yeah, Tony Scott.
We need to topple that. Come on, Marty.
That one episode where he did all those films.
Yes. One episode skewed the entire leaderboard.
But De Niro, he's our top casted person on the Filmbuster podcast.
Of course.
He has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is his 6th film.
Wow.
With a TH.
Go on, Adam. You name them. Name all 6 De Niro films we've covered
Irishman,
on the podcast.
Casino, Joker,
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Come on. Remember those other 2.
One we did this year already.
Oh, what's the one Jamie picked? What's it called? The Travelling Friends film? Oh my god. What's the name of that one? There's like the 2 buddies, the policeman and the arrested.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Travelling Friends. One of them's definitely arrested.
What's that film called? They've become buddy by the end of it.
Some would
that
say
was last
they're not
year, by the way.
walking, they are
Running.
Yes, and it's not daytime. It's not lunchtime.
Dinner time. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it.
Dinner time running.
Midnight Run.
That's it. Midnight Run. And then the last one, I can't remember it.
The last one we did this year, it was a Paul pick.
Sylvester Stallone is the lead.
Oh, that other cop film.
Yes, that's one word.
Terrible. How are you not remembering these names?
It's not Cop World.
Because
it's...
I'm Copland.
That's the one. There we go. That's
forgot
all
you
the
were
De
saying
Niro
that.
films. There we go. Adam, do you want to do a little rundown of this film?
Yeah, so this film is King of Comedy, and it is about Rupert Pupkin, who is obsessed with a TV night host of a TV channel who's like a comedy, probably a bit like Saturday Night Live, and he just wants to be him, he wants to be around him, he wants to be on his show, and he's just so obsessed with him that it drives him insane, and he ends up kidnapping him and putting himself on the show.
That's what happened.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Benjamin, got a little rundown?
Okay, yeah, so this marks Scorsese and De Niro's 5th collaboration in 9 years, but would also mark a break in the pair's professional relationship, as the two would not work together again for a further 8 years when they reunited for Goodfellas. And Scorsese put this down to the experience of making the movie and the bitterness of the subject matter being so intense. And even though he thought it was a great film, he regretted making it.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Where we talk about that. But Scorsese says that Rupert Pupkin is the best De Niro performance that he ever gave him. De Niro researched the role by studying lots of stand-up comedy tapes and even did some low-key comedy sets in New York City. And although it was nominated for a BAFTA for Best Screenplay, and I think it won it, King of Comedy never got anything like the acknowledgement it deserved, and at the time it was seen as a flop, but over time its stature has grown, and obviously more recently it's been spoken about with its comparisons to Joker.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
This is Adam's pick. He gets to decide what order we do our first impressions in.
We'll do it in Filmmaster's order because I kind of have a feeling we kind of know what each of us got on this. So yeah.
Pab. Paul Adam Ben.
Oh right. Pab. Okay. I might as well come in with the obvious opinion that everyone wants to know. I'm not going to say this film is better than The Joker because it's not, but it is still a bloody great film. I don't think I've ever seen like a more unique De Niro performance than this. And like generally now he's kind of pigeonholed into a very particular characterization. He's always like quite strong, like confident and intimidating. Whereas here he's like, I think he's like completely the opposite of that, aside from like he has this misplaced confidence. He still has this confidence that's still there. But you always feel like when he's about like put down by someone in this film, that any moment he could flip. I think just those other performances really just helps like bring this, like he's about to go but he never really does, and it's just this simmering feeling inside of like rejection that is just there, and that kind of helps that he's had these other performances. I can't really explain what I'm trying to say, but that's how I feel. It's a wonderful performance. It's a great film, and if Joker's a tragedy, then I think like this is the comedy, because regardless of the heavy subject matter, once you delve deeper, it's the heavy subject matter, but the veins of black comedy run right through it, and it's not full blown laugh out loud, but it's ever so slightly humorous, and it's helped by like this subtle acting of De Niro. And speaking of like the subject matter, I think it is so relevant to today, like the toxic fandom, the mindset that people think the world owes them something, this morbid fame through tragedy. This is what the fucking Kardashians fucking thrive off of, because of the murder, and their fathers the fucking.
I know, it's very sweary council, for some reason.
But anyway, I just don't like that shit. But it's a great film. It's a great film, and another wonderful outing for one of the best pairings in film. And Scorsese and De Niro, we love you.
There you go.
I can't really say much more on that yet. Again, it is just an incredible film. It's just an acting masterclass, as always, from De Niro. He is, like you said, it's so subtle, and yet it's also real, and it's not an in-your-face performance, but it's almost a scary performance because he plays it so well. But yeah, I can't really say much more than what Paul said there, to be honest, but yeah.
Yes, well, yeah, echoing what's been said, even though I know we're not going to agree as we get into the episode on some things, largely agree with everything that's been said there. Obviously, it's one of his best performances and most unique performances for sure. It goes to show the versatility of the fucking man, and I hated the fact that people were like, oh, why is he doing comedies when he started doing Analyze This and Meet the Parents? Because this is a comedy. Yeah, it's terrible, but it's funny. And I agree with what you're saying, Paul. I had memories of this being laugh out loud funny, but then on this more recent rewatch, I was like, it is funny, but you don't laugh out loud. It is very amusing in its awkwardness. He is a very awkward individual who has the reason that it feels uncomfortable is because you shouldn't be laughing, because he's actually very unnerving. Like when he's cracking up in the basement in its fictitious imagination, laughing heartily, that's very unnerving. But you kind of like, the comforting thing would be to laugh at him, go like, oh, look at this idiot. But it's like, no, this is unnerving. This man is not mentally well. He's not stable. And I love the way that De Niro, he's my favorite actor, of course, but the nuance, the very, very slight gestures, things he said, mannerisms, looks, it's masterclass, absolute masterclass there. It's probably one of his top 10 films for me. In fact, it is one of his top 10 films for me. And I would say it's the perfect film if it weren't for, it's easy to talk about the one thing that really doesn't work for me in this, and it's the Sarah Bernhard character. In the end, particularly when Jerry's tied up, that stuff, I get what they're going with. It makes me feel very uncomfortable, but it's not just because she's being lecherous in that situation. I just think it all goes on too long. I find her performance very grating in that final scene, and I just don't like the dynamic between her and Jerry. And it takes up a good, I mean, I'm sure it's probably only 5 minutes combined, but it feels like 10. And at that crucial point of the film where you've built up to this kidnapping, he's going on stage, cutting back to that really fucks up the ending for me a little bit, and for that reason it isn't a perfect film, but it's damn close to it, and I'm sure we'll talk about why.
Yeah, I can mirror that. Yeah, I agree with that totally.
Right. Can I make a request that we don't talk about Joker or comparisons to Joker until the end? Like, let's deal with King of Comedy on its own merits, and then we can talk about Joker. Yes,
let's do that.
All right, good. Go on, Adam, you kick it off. Why'd you bring the film to us? Why did you want to talk about it?
Just purely, this was a film I really wanted to rewatch. I've only watched it once beforehand, and it was about 5 or 6, maybe longer than that actually now, I'd say. Before I was really kind of watching films the way we're watching films at the moment. You just kind of, that was a good film kind of time. So I've always wanted to go back to watch it, and I thought, what better opportunity than to do this right now?
I'm very glad you did.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, like you said, I think the best scene, I'll go straight to it, the best scene for me, which kind of sums up this film is, and everything about this film, is the very ending, when he's on stage doing his stand-up, and the crowd's laughing about the fact he's tied up in the room. And it's like, that is the haunting moment of that film. It's like, little do you know that this guy's actually not lying to you. You think it's the joke, but he's actually got him tied up in a room. Yeah,
it's literally what he says. He says, I see the awful, terrible things in my life and make them funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, literally, he's just saying how he grew up, and it's like, everyone's finding it funny, but it's like, this probably all just happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, I completely forgot about that part. So when I was watching it back, I was like, shit, like, this is the haunting moment of this film. This is it. And then the whole rise to fame at the end, and then everything like that. Whether, again, we can go into details about if that was true or not, or that's in his head. But, yeah, that's...
When he's doing his stand-up set, it works so well as well, because you've been waiting to see it. Because every time he teases it, it cuts away in the film before that.
Yeah.
So when he starts talking about it, you're like, oh, finally, we're going to get to see a set. Is he funny? And it's like, he's neither great, but he's also not bad. He's okay. He's pretty okay. But you don't know whether you should be laughing because you're finally getting this thing. You're hearing the crowd laughing, almost like a sitcom with the conditioning. You keep hearing that crowd laughing. But yeah, we know as an audience that the shit he's talking about happened to him. He's had a terrible mum, a terrible dad, and kids bullied him. And while that may not be a unique story, we shouldn't really be laughing at it. But that is how he's channeling what happened to him. And my question to you boys, with that reveal, but also throughout the movie, is did you find Rupert Pupkin a sympathetic and likable character, or did you find him like creepy and actually unpleasant?
I found him creepy and unpleasant, just because you know kind of what he's going to get into, and you knew where the film was going because you've seen it before. So I feel like, but yeah, I just didn't really have any sympathy for him at all in the film.
See, what this rang to me was our conversation of talking about the difference between psychopaths and sociopaths.
Yeah.
And I think he is a complete psychopath. He
is absolutely.
He literally manipulates every conversation he has, and the whole situation. What really like shows that is when he's in, is it his holiday home, in Jerry Langford's holiday home or something? Yeah. And everything that's coming out his mouth is just manipulation. Yep. Pure manipulation, and it's not even believes it. It's just coming out his mouth. He's manipulating everyone around him, and it's like, this guy is a psychopath, absolute psychopath.
See, when I watch a scene like that, the way it's played is so perfect because I watch it and I go, is he aware that he is lying, or is he so lost in his own world that he does truly believe that Jerry wants him there? Because all it took to spin this whole plot was that 5 minutes in the car with Jerry Langford. Suddenly, he had told it. Yes, he was telling everyone else, but he had told himself, Jerry's my friend. He wants me on the show, when Jerry never said either of those things. Yeah. But he's told himself it, and he believes it to the point of madness. I don't think Pupkin turns up because why would he turn up knowing that Jerry doesn't want him there? He must have fooled himself
it's a lie.
Into believing that Jerry wants him there.
You believe it yourself.
It's the ego, it's the narcissistic ego of him that he feels, that's it. I deserve my place there. Just like any cunt who has a shit celebrity show now, as you say, Kardashians or whoever. But people want to see that shit.
They still want to see it, yeah. It's just like they want to see Rupert Pupkin because the way he got famous, that is fascinating to people. And then he kind of becomes famous from that, and then people forget about that.
It does feel more relevant now, though, doesn't it, than back then? Because more so than ever, we have this horrible, we're going to make this nobody famous, and they're going to burn bright for a few years, then burn out.
Yeah, absolutely. See,
Why do we do it?
There's a very, just going back to whether he believes his lies or not. It's such a fine line. I think it could go either way because when he's speaking to the girl from the bar, and even then he's just like, oh yeah, I'm like very good mates with Woody Allen. He's like, where's that come from? Why is he suddenly best mates with Woody Allen? And it's
because he got that signature, innit?
Yeah, and it's like,
listen, we all know the lies you tell, and the lies you would tell yourself if you were that kind of person. We all work, for listeners who don't know this, at the BBC. For UK listeners particularly, you'll be aware of a show called EastEnders, which filmed up at LG Studios where we all worked, and without fail, every single day, if you walked outside of the studios, outside of the studio perimeter, there would be a line, not a long line, but a line of people who would wait all day for EastEnders stars to leave in the hopes of getting a quick picture or a signature. And that was their life. And if someone stopped and gave a signature or a picture or something, you can bet your bottom dollar that a week or two later, those people will be telling other people, oh yeah, so I talk to so-and-so all the time, but also they'll be telling themselves, oh, he likes me or she likes me.
Absolutely. It's very true. Yeah.
And I think when you got the psychology of Rupert Pupkin, who's so deluded, I think he's living in his fantasy. And but this is the difference of opinion, because a lot of people, and I think the intention is what you say, is for you to find him creepy and unstable and stuff, which he is, but there is still something And it's not just a De Niro performance, I don't think. There is still something inherently likable about him because his delusions and like his ego is constantly being thwarted. He's constantly being told, "Oh, actually, no, your tape wasn't very good. You should do the comedy this way. Go away this way." And he's sort of like nodding through it. You know, when Jerry Langford's assistant comes out and she's like, "Yeah, it's not really for us. You just need to work a little more on this. You need to remove some jokes." And he's like nodding. He's like nodding like a little dog, and he's going, "This is so helpful. This is great. Thank you." But do you speak for Jerry? Because he's like, I'm getting thwarted all the time. I need to find a way out of this. I can't. My mother didn't care about me. I was bullied and picked on all the time. Now is my time. I need to find a way out of this. I can't be pushed back again. I can't be put down again. I need to find a way forward. And I did have a certain amount of sympathy.
I agree. I agree. There's I think the balance is how you feel. All depends on whether you think he believes his own lies or not. Whether he is in the mindset where he thinks this is actually happening, because I do feel sympathy for him. Like he's a likable guy. Like just seeing him sitting there waiting in the, I don't think he's obviously a pest for the people in the office, but it's like, he's so dedicated that he's going to sit there all day waiting because that's all he has to live for. And there is something sweet about that.
Still like Get Away. You just
I mean he's a creep and a pest, but it is that thing of, you know, if him and Sarah Bernard had changed places, like Sarah Bernard is her character.
She's ultimate pest.
She's ultimate pest. She is that is creepy as hell, because at no point is she subtle about anything or trying to approach things. She's like chasing him down in the street. Mm-hmm. She's sexually assaulting him essentially at the end. Like all of that is deeply uncomfortable fandom. Whereas Pumpkin. And I know that people will go, no, he's terrible. He kidnapped him. Yeah, but it's like up until that point, he was this kind of like loser who just was like, oh, no, come on, no, here's my tape. But at the same time, I guess if there was some, not to give ourselves ego, but if there was a listener out there who was completely untalented and was like, I want to be the fourth member of Filmbusters, it would get to a point where we'd given them enough clues that we actually don't need a fourth member, and that person was still hassling us constantly, where you'd go, well, this is a fucking pest, fuck off.
I see that. I think the way he approached it differently is literally the first scene is he tries to go out his way to make himself worthy of it. So the way he's almost like a bodyguard in the beginning, he's helping him, and he's like, at least if I do this, it feels like I almost deserve a shot. And I kind of like that he does that. Whereas she, as you say, is just chasing him down the street, where she thinks she deserves it no matter what, because she's just the ultimate fan.
I mean, he is. It's the mastery of De Niro, where he's playing it both ways, where he can play it to a point where you could feel some sort of empathy for him, but at the still time, you know that he has the potential to explode at any point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because it does feel like there is a lot. The thing that's beautiful about it is that this is a PG-rated film, and that is kind of what sits uncomfortably. Like, I think you bring a lot of baggage to this film. Like you said, Paul, you know what De Niro's famous for, the characters that he played. You know what Scorsese is famous for, the kind of films he makes. So to bring them together and contain them in a PG-rated film, which is about an obsessed, driven fan or super fan, it adds another layer to it, where you know that there is all this like hatred and rage and anger potentially under the surface that we aren't going to see go off. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what makes it even more uncomfortable, is that we never really see any of that go off. It just simmers there throughout the whole film. Yeah. Because there is no Travis Bickle moment of killing a bunch of people. It's just, it boils and boils and boils until you get to the final moments, which don't explode. It's just about, well, what's happening here?
And I think he is like, looking at the scene where he's making his little show reel, he's just so sweet. It's like, I feel so sorry for him, because he's like, and his mum's shouting on the recording, and he just carries on.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom! He's like, oh,
see, I just don't have any sympathy for him. That's the problem.
That's so interesting.
I just think it's
Jenny didn't.
Oh, really? I don't know. And I normally do, like, even with, something like Breaking Bad, for example, by the end of that, I still have a little bit, I think, because that's what you grow that character in a different way, but I just don't, you just, like, I don't know, it just feels like he's more annoying. He's like, go away and just leave this man alone, get the message.
I think, I don't know if it's intentional, but one of the things that helps me feel a little something for Rupert Pupkin is because the character of Jerry, he doesn't come across as an arsehole at all. He's completely entitled to be exactly how he is in the film because he just wants to do his job and not be bothered. But there is a certain coldness to Jerry that makes you almost go, are you a little bit of an arsehole though? Do you kind of deserve it?
He just wants his privacy and just doesn't want to be annoyed.
Yes. But he's such a contrast to Rupert Pupkin that you can't help but think, well, if Rupert Pupkin is this overly emotional and like falsely charismatic guy, the flip side of that must be someone who is very private and guarded and cold. So he's a bit of a bastard for not giving Rupert the chance. But Rupert, I know that's wrong because Rupert isn't deserving of it.
I think a great scene showing Jerry Langford is when he's walking down the street and, you know, like the cab driver's hailing him down. Yeah. And he has almost this like false charisma because he's showing, giving them a bit of himself, like fake self, but also like kind of shooing them away. And I just like the way he kind of acts with the public in the whole scene, and the all the builders shouting down to him, and he's like, hey.
It's the woman on the phone for me. Yeah. That's the one.
I hope you get cancer.
So, you know, that is a brilliant scene. You should get nothing but cancer. That's a true story. That really happened to him.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And he directed that scene for the film. He told Martin Scorsese about this exchange, and Martin Scorsese was like, "You direct it, position everything exactly as it was, and do it."
And that woman is almost like the personification of what the female, what's her name, the other fan.
I can't remember what her name is in the film. Sarah Bernard's the actress. Marsha.
So I feel like it's almost the personification of her, what she feels like she has the right to, where she just goes, oh, can you just talk to my, is it son or brother or something?
Yeah,
she says,
my son, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, she feels like she deserves that because she's a fan. And as soon as he goes, oh, sorry, I'm just a bit late, he's like, you should die. And it's like instant anger.
Yeah.
Instant anger. It's like...
It's the thing that was interesting now, watching it now, as opposed to at the time, I guess, is back then you could be Jerry Langford, and you could have, apart from the fact that everyone sees you on TV every week, you could have a certain level of anonymity. Whereas now, everyone has a Twitter account, Instagram account, social media all the time. We're constantly exposed to them, so that anonymity is almost gone.
You feel like you're friends with them.
Yeah, and the barriers between us, the normal people, and celebrity culture, they're blurred now because we can interact with them on socials. You know, I'm talking about Steve Guttenberg sending a message about my granddad. Like, if I was a Rupert Pupkin type character, I could be like, Rupert and Steve Guttenberg's friend of the family. He said really lovely things when my granddad died. I'll get in touch with him at some point. And that it's where the line becomes blurred. It must be much harder. It's not that poor celebrities, but I think it must be much harder to be a celebrity now than it was 40 years ago.
You've got to be on all the time as well. I think that's
unless you're just someone who doesn't,
like Christian Bale or something like that, just disappears.
Yeah, or like Michael Shannon. You know, Michael Shannon is not going to be putting on airs and graces. You know exactly, like he's not going to be doing no fucking Twitters and socials. But they all deserve their anonymity as well. But at the same time, people would say, "Hey, shoot your shot." What's the difference? You know, if I'm like,
it's when to say no. It's like getting that taxi. Great, like you've jumped in and whatever, you've hustled your way in. But no, just fuck off.
I think there's it's that fine balance. I was listening to Always Sunny the other day, and they said about like this toxic fandom and like how when people approach them and how they should react. And they said Danny DeVito said a great thing to him once, that what are you about your fans? If you didn't have people who watched and enjoyed you, you would not be in the position you are right now. So you need to have that kind of respect there, and obviously you need to also have a balance with it, depending on how these fans treat you, but you should never have totally shut off for that, because they are the people who've made you who you are.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's got to be a bit of both. There's got to be a bit of both. If we were superstars, the three of us, how do you think each of us would individually treat fandom?
I think Adam's already shown his cards.
Yeah, totally.
I'll be nice.
You would if someone approached you in the street, but you would have no time for like groups of people interacting with fans on Twitter.
I probably maybe on Twitter. You might like messages and go like that way, but it's just like when it becomes annoying in your daily life. Like if you wanted to walk to the train station, you have to leave 10 minutes earlier because you know you're going to get stopped.
But then some people might say that's the trade-off, though. Some people might go, well, if you're now a millionaire because you're on telly, the trade-off is you don't have that privacy anymore. You don't. You knew what you were getting into, so you give it up.
Be on constantly.
No,
of course.
And that's why whenever we see people, celebrities and whatnot, in their bad moments, like in a captured video, someone swearing at a fan or pushing someone or something like that, it's easy to go, oh, what a dickhead.
It was like the Tom Hanks one the other day, wasn't it, when he pushed a fan over because they tripped up his wife?
But that's the thing. He didn't even push anyone. All he did was say, back the fuck off.
Oh,
and because it's Tom Hanks, it's news because he has such a good guy persona.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've seen people who've fallen foul of it in a very bad way, like John Lennon. I don't know the full story behind the guy who killed him, but Adam, you probably know. Was he like a super fan?
He was. His motto was, if I can't have you, nobody can have you.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Fucking scary. I think that's why Scorsese says that this is a more violent film than Taxi Driver for him.
Yeah.
Because
psychological. I mean, it's very psychological, Taxi Driver, but...
Yeah. But see, Taxi Driver with Travis Bickle is a character who's...
jumped up below.
But he's a normal person who has seen too much shit, and he's like, fuck this is disgusting, I've got to clean it up. Whereas Rupert Pupkin is a whole other thing. It's all about self. It's about, I need to further myself, so I'm going to take this man hostage. But
and his reasoning to being there isn't as valid.
No. Because he was, I swear he says, I went to telecommunications. He only recently decided he wanted to get into comedy, and then later on he's like, this is my live stream, I asked you for 5 minutes for my live stream. It's like, this has not been your live stream. You only recently decided you wanted to get into comedy.
Yeah, he's constantly like editing his life story and narrating it for whatever he wants in that situation.
You know who I absolutely love is Jerry Langford's Chinese housekeeper.
I was going to mention him. I loved him.
Brilliant. And it was
Such
like
a great
all improvised over the phone. The way he talks when he couldn't open the door, that was a genuine mistake, and they just kept it rolling.
But it just felt like it did feel like he was putting that on. And I was hoping you did, because it just felt so natural.
It was great.
He was such a natural performer.
He was.
It was great.
And he's here and he's they're touching everything.
You need to come here.
You need to come quick. I'm having a heart attack over here. So good.
He is fucking great.
But it is. This film is that line that he says in his conduct, wasn't it? It's better to be king for a day than a schmuck for a life.
Yeah. Well, this is it's total psychology, isn't it? If you've got someone like this, is how those people come about. It's because they feel they have no worth, so they seek worth in others. So I don't have any friends. I don't really have much connection. I see you. I admire you. And then they cross the line by going, so I want to be with you.
You owe me stuff now. You owe
me stuff, yeah. Scary. It's very scary to think. There's, people have stalkers and stuff. These people exist. They are scary fucking people. We wouldn't want to be... That would be the main thing that puts me off fame, would be the obsessives.
Yeah, absolutely. But it comes with the territory. That's the thing.
It comes with the territory, yeah. People do accept that's going to be the way. But just all of the fantasy sequences are so perfectly played as well, because even in his fantasies, De Niro at times is being meek. You know, like when he fantasizes about Jerry saying, "I heard your tape. I'm not going to ask you how you did it because I don't want to steal your material, but it's so good." And he's just still leaning back in his chair, looking really small.
Yeah.
And he's like grabbing his face and flipping it backwards and forwards. It's like, this is fantasy. Why is he fantasizing about it in that way?
And when he's asked him to the show, and he's like, "Please don't make me do the show, please."
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible.
And also when he's actually on the show, and they're getting him married for some reason.
That's so good.
And then they're just like, "We just want to apologise and please beg forgiveness." It's like, oh, there's something sad about that as well. It's like, oh man, this is what he's all doing it for. He's just so downtrodden.
The psychology of it, it's all about me. That's why it does walk the line between sympathy, because I am sympathetic that he feels that way, but also creeped out because
it's like, don't go that far.
Yeah,
it's like when the villain, like the what do you call it? I don't know what to call it. The villainized becomes the villain almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't know, but yeah,
that's right. Like, when you're put upon, the abused becomes the abuser.
So that last bit at the end, I was watching it. I was like, do you think that was all real, or do you reckon, like the actual TV bit, do you reckon he ever made it onto TV, or they just arrested him beforehand? Because his performance went what you would class as surprisingly well, like for someone who just seemed to be unprepared. Not unprepared, he was prepared, but like you thought he'd freeze in the moment, and then all the fame and everything afterwards, I think he was like, oh no, I'm going to get put in prison, but at least I've now got millions of pounds. And
see, the thing is, I remember originally seeing it and thinking, oh, this is just another fantasy. But watching it now, I think it's just an eerie predictor of our times, because we would absolutely do that now.
Yeah.
And I think he is. I think he has found fame.
Yeah.
Look at Charles Manson. It's like people are fascinated.
Yeah.
And he got fame out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
Unintentionally for him, but
you're right. No, you're right. More people listen to Manson's music and would listen to his interviews and make short films about him because of that.
Yeah. It's just a fascinating thing.
It is
I 100% agree it's real.
And it's the fickleness of fame as well, because the people are told, oh, this is the hot property now.
Yeah.
So this is what you like now.
I 100% agree that feel like that performance was real as well, because he's just been practicing. That's his one routine. He's just been practicing in front of that. I love that shot as well, where he's practicing. You never hear his actual performance, but it's just panning out down that corridor, and he's got that big
great
wall
shot
full of all the audience, and
he's
putting him in a little box. It's just putting him in a tiny little box down the corridor. Wonderful shot.
Yeah. One track mind. This is all he is.
Yeah.
Good old Scorsese, man. I also found a lot of the sets felt very un-Scorsese. Like, normally, obviously, because of the kind of films he shoots, but it almost felt like a sci-fi at times. Like, Jerry Langford's offices and all the buildings
modern.
were like, and like we were saying the other day, I can't remember what it was we were talking about. We were saying it looked very sterile.
It was very
sterile. Yeah, it was very Kubrick.
Creepshow, wasn't it?
Was it Creepshow? Yeah. Funny. Well, that must have been the obsession with modernity at the time in '82. That was what modernity looked like.
I think Rupert's, like, his room was beautiful. That's a beautiful bit of set design.
It was great set design.
Everything, all the cutouts, just all the stuff on the walls, all the
real
memorabilia.
How old do you think De Niro was at the time?
It's scary. He's younger than us now.
That's what's crazy. Let's see. He was... Oh, fortunately, no, he wasn't. He was 39.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, still. But it is definitively one of his greatest performances, because it is so subtle. It doesn't rely on any tough guy exterior. It doesn't rely on just him standing there looking tough, which it doesn't. De Niro's all about subtlety in performance, and this is like so over the top in the way that he dresses and that moustache. It's so not De Niro, but just his performances.
This is almost like the like Robert Williams, or as we talked about in Creepshow, the Leslie Nielsen performance, where you expect them in like a certain role. So for De Niro, it is very like intimidating, serious, and then it's flipped it. This is a more light-hearted, and it makes his performance even better because you don't expect that coming from him. But it's obviously a good performance that it works.
As particularly at that point in his career, you wouldn't have been used to it. Made me very, very happy the first time I saw it, because I was like, fuck, I didn't know that you had this in you, and this is real special. Real special.
Very good. Very good.
And what do we think about his girlfriend, Rita? Well, friends/girlfriend, who, when he does his performance, he then goes to the bar and stands next to the telly while it's playing out.
Sweet man. He's so, every time I think about it, it's like, oh, you're just so sweet.
But you know what? The thing is, visually he looks sweet because of his outfit, and he always seems to be smiling. But it's like a smiling, never smile at a crocodile
You've just
type
taken someone
thing.
hostage.
Yeah, to do that, yeah. And you see how he is with Marsha, where he treats Marsha like she's scum, she's nothing, but she is him. She's him. You're the same. You're looking in a mirror when you're dismissive of her.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's very true. I also feel like there's even though obviously he took someone hostage, but it's almost like the least malice possible he can put into this whole procedure, where the gun's not a real gun.
Exactly.
He's so nice to all the policemen who are arresting him.
Yeah.
It's
almost like you want to let him go. Like, you always want to let him, like, do his thing. Like, go on, you've done this now, you might as well go on TV. That's like where the little bit of sympathy comes from, but at the same time, it's like...
But then that's the thing. Does he have the capacity to actually be dangerous then? If in that hostage situation, there was nothing
that's the
to
thing.
actually put the man in danger.
I don't
is
think
he a
there
risk?
is. I don't feel like he is.
But if he did that to us, we would class him as very scary and dangerous.
That's the difference, yeah. Like, Jerry Langford would see him as dangerous.
Yeah, and Jerry Langford would be like, a restraining order on that man. I don't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
Because the first half of the film, you certainly don't expect he's going to take him hostage.
No,
so it's like, if he didn't get famous from that act, what would his next step be? Where would he next go?
It's very true. Yeah.
You know, Rita, that was De Niro's wife at the time.
Rita.
They were married.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were married for about a decade, I think.
Oh. What? So was it? So you're saying he met her then? Or
no, they were already married. They were already
Okay.
married at this point as well.
See, I see her as a little bit of a fame, like directing towards fame, because she just thinks she's going along with him just because there might be the potential that she might meet someone.
I mean, think about this. They were both single, right? They knew each other beforehand. And then suddenly he shows you all this stuff and is like, do you want to come? Like, if you were single and someone you knew just started saying, oh yeah, I'm going over to bad example, Jim Carrey's house this weekend. If you said, I'm going to Robin Williams' house, you go, you fucking morbid. Stay away. Let the family rest in peace. Let him rest in peace. Let the family be in peace. But if they said Jim Carrey's house, you'd be like, whoa, okay, I'll come.
Yeah.
Would you though?
Because she knows exactly what to do once she gets there and realises they ain't been invited. That's what I love in that scene, because De Niro is acting against everyone. Because at first it's just like, hey, look, here's Jerry, what's your pleasure? Come on, I'll pour you a drink. And then Jerry's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what am I doing here? He's a joker. And then she's going, yeah, he's saying we're not wanted here. And then De Niro turns on her and is like, Jerry, come on, she's just this bar girl. Me and you can do this. Then he turns on Jerry, and then he's realised, right, I'm on my own.
Yeah. But I also feel like she has this forwardness about her as well, where she suddenly she is the one who wants to look around the house and like be a bit nosy with his house. And he's like, no, stay. He's like, stay downstairs. She walks upstairs.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, this is someone's house.
I guess it's all that curiosity about famous people, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how you would react. Like, we all think we'd react somewhere. But if you're in the house of someone particularly famous, we just walked into Graham Norton's house. We think we've been invited to Graham Norton's house, and he's not in at the moment. Well, I was trying to think about this. When I was watching it, I was like, what's the UK equivalent right now? Like a talk
he's
show
more
host
of
for
like
us.
a comedian, though, isn't he? It's more of like a comedy as well, like the stand-up and all of that involved with it.
Yeah, but he's a talk show host. Like, he is a comedian, yeah, but he's still a host, right? It is like in America, it would have been David Letterman, and David Letterman, funnily enough, as you will both remember, when I summarised 1982, the first episode of Daid Letterman aired in 1982. So this coincided very well with that.
Very much so. It's like if we went into James Corden's house and then we burnt it all down.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Now you're getting psychotic.
Yeah. Christ, if they imagine they remade this movie and they put Corden in the role and someone was obsessive about Corden.
Oh,
That's the worrying thing, is it probably would be someone like him now.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Something that I saw recently, which is kind of interesting and along these lines, but not quite, is I saw on Netflix called True Story. Did you see that with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes?
No.
It's good. It's definitely worth a watch. Kevin Hart plays basically a version of himself, stand-up comedian, and Wesley Snipes is his brother, and then something bad happens, and an obsessive fan finds out about it, and it's how far Kevin Hart is willing to go with this obsessive fan, keeping this obsessive fan on board so that he stays quiet about something else that's happened. It's very good.
Interesting.
Isn't it all a little bit of a true story?
Well, it's called True Story, but if it is a true story, I think Kevin Hart needs to go to jail. So I hope it's not. It's worth a watch, though. Before we go on to the inevitable, what I would be interested in, and I think could make for a good movie, but I'm not pushing for it, is I would be interested to see the Rupert Pupkin character 20 years later, if he did rise to fame off the back of that, with that man's mindset. If he is still a psychopath, as you say, Paul, he is still that person with mental health issues. How does he handle fame? How does he handle having his own fans? Is it his fantasy come true, or what is the real life throwing at him?
I think he'd run with the fans. I think he'd be a lot more embracive of them and like, yeah, come on, like it'll be chaos. Like he's too.
Well, look what he does to his friend. How he treats her.
Yeah, he looks down his nose at her. So you look down his nose
but
at all
he'd
the
look
fans.
at people on his level now and be like,
I wonder at what point fame changes a person, because some people are just total assholes.
I think it's when you
Or
start
seems
getting
to
away
be.
with stuff. You start getting given stuff because you're famous. You start getting away with stuff because you're famous. Like if you got pulled over for speeding and the policeman was like, "Oh yeah, you're famous. I'll let you off." You should go and
A
keep
certain
getting away with it.
entitlement.
Yeah, like no one's going to stop me now. Like who am I answering to?
Who would you say, out of all the actors, let's say actors, who would give you the impression that they're the most grounded, down to earth, no real sense of entitlement?
There was someone the other day who I can't remember was watching, and they said Adam Sandler is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Oh, really?
Grounded, like got time for people. And I was like, I kind of get it. He just seems like all he wants to do is play basketball, make films.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think he's got an ego about him, but he doesn't really have, I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose. But if I saw Adam Sandler in the street, I would not think, I can approach him and say hi.
No,
I'd be like,
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm not going over.
I've got to get to my train.
Who seems approachable?
I'm trying to think.
Keanu
Someone
Reeves
who
kind of
feels
people.
approachable. Oh, Keanu.
Keanu Reeves. Yeah, Keanu has a lot of...
Yeah, Keanu.
But then imagine
is
you
the one.
approached him, and imagine you walking towards him and he made eye contact with you and he went, "Not now."
I'll give him a kiss.
You'd be gutted, wouldn't you?
So
Because
gutted.
you'd be hearing for years everyone talking about what a nice guy he is, and you'd be like, yeah, I can't tell you the story of when he told me, "Not now." That'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
And one of his assistants came over and made you sign a form so you couldn't ever speak out about it. So everyone still thought he was a nice guy. He'd pay you out.
It was just, he just seemed like one of the nicest guys though, because it was, what was it the other day when he was at the Formula One the other day, and he was just like, one of the guys was interviewing him. He goes, "I'm such a massive fan of you as well. Like when I've been watching Formula One, I've heard your voice, and like all of this is just so good to be here around all these cars."
It's funny we're talking about him because last night I realised that Jenny had never seen that scene in Jack and Jill with Pacino, so I put it on, and I was just like, for how terrible this movie is, it really does save it. Like all of Pacino throughout that film saves it.
That
to
one
be honest,
scene is just absolutely, it's worth the film.
and the Dunkachino dance at the end as well. Burn this. Nobody must see this. It's great. Come on, let's talk about the inevitable.
Okay.
Or
What do
Joker.
you want to say about it?
So obviously, not for me to say, but Paul, listeners, we did an episode on Joker a few years ago when it came out at the cinema, and obviously there was some talk at the time about it being loosely based on, inspired by King of the Hill. I can't remember it. King of the Hill,
It's not loosely.
King of Comedy. I don't know if it was well known beforehand or if it just got spoke about afterwards. But either way, I thought, since we were doing this episode, I thought I had better also rewatch Joker for the first time so that I can frame it in line with it. And the thing is, I'm just going to say my quick piece on Joker. It is still a wonderful film. It is a great film. I do not get the hate and the disdain around it that it gets. I don't agree or subscribe to the belief that it is this.
Well,
this
it's the same
film
reason
which
as
is evil.
this, like Rupert Pupkin. If someone watched this film and felt, "Fuck me, he's actually done it that way. Why don't I?
I know,
I could
but-
possibly do it that way." That's where it comes.
The difference is, and this is why I think King of Comedy is a better film, is that the squalid nature of Arthur Fleck's life and Rupert Pupkin's life. Rupert Pupkin tries to channel it, and he channels it through this delusional self-belief that he could be a comedian, but he isn't actually out to hurt anyone else. He's just going to do his thing. He's not as bitter as Arthur Fleck, and that's fine. But when I was watching Joker, as I was watching it, I kept thinking, God, this is so depressing. It is like oppressively depressing to the point where I'm like, well, there's no hope in this. This is a portrayal of mental illness without any hope. It's basically like, if you're mentally ill, this is your path, because there is nobody there for you. There's no system, there's no people, there's nothing. You're on your own, and anyone who laughs at you deserves what they get. And as I was watching it, I was like, that makes me uncomfortable. It made me much more uncomfortable than anything Rupert Pupkin did in King of Comedy. But the reason that I prefer King of Comedy is Rupert Pupkin had all of that within him, those thoughts, but we never saw it. It was subtle. It didn't have to get spelled out. That it was more in movements and gestures and the way that he conducted himself. And I appreciated it. But I've got to say, rewatching Joker yesterday, I did drop it down a star. Not because I thought, oh, it's not as good a film as I remembered, more because I thought I am not getting a nice feeling. I'm not getting an enjoyable feeling from this film in the way that I do with dark stuff. This time it felt more miserable, and I put that in my little word because that's what it made me feel. It felt like a much more miserable film, whereas King of Comedy has levity to it and playfulness in the darkness, which is why I think it works well. But there are so many comparisons to be
it's
made.
ridiculous. I also got to the point where I thought he killed Jerry at the end of King of Comedy. I was kind of almost waiting for that to happen as well, but I'm very glad they didn't do it now.
Oh yeah,
I think it all depends, like, what you want from the film, isn't it? Really, I think it's very like talking about how you could see Rupert as a psychopath, and Joker, you can see Arthur he's the sociopath. He's just basically spiraling out of control because he doesn't know how to handle what he's feeling inside. And for me, I go to from my film, I want to get a feeling, like I want a serious emotional feeling from my film, and I get that more from the Joker because I feel scared, I feel uncomfortable. I obviously love the violence anyway, but that is just a wonderful scene, and
it is. I mean, it's highly effective.
It's such an effective scene, and it's obviously I love Batman anyway, but I think it's more than that. I was sitting in the car and I was thinking, it's not really a Batman film. It's not really even a Joker film. It's just
never
a film.
feels like one.
No, but
that's one weird that it is almost so standalone. I don't know.
Yeah,
I really hope that they don't bring him and that story into this new DC universe. It doesn't feel that, and Batman do not feel like they inhabit the same universe.
No, they're just individual stories. They're not going to put them together. But that's what I appreciate it so much more, because I want to have a massive payoff at the end. I know the payoff in King of Comedy is that he gets his fame. He gets his fame, might not be in the right way, but he gets it. Where Joker pays off so much more for me because it feels so tragic, so horrible, so uncomfortable, and that works more for me than King of Comedy.
Ben, and we obviously know what Paul's answer to this question is. You said it earlier, but which one do you think is a better film?
Well, King of Comedy is a better film, but I would have said that even before. King of Comedy is a better film. But I got to say, if I'd known, in principle, I don't object to Joker being a unofficial remake of King of Comedy. I think it's great. I really can't remember if the comparisons were made before the film was released. But if you had told me before seeing Joker, oh yeah, this is kind of like an unofficial remake of King of Comedy, I'd have been bang up for it. I'd have been like, what? King of Comedy? Nobody knows about this film, really. The mainstream don't, so great. Let's see that. Fantastic. And then I don't watch any of the Joker and think, oh, well, this is just remaking that bit from Thing. This is just remaking that bit from Thing. It clearly is heavily influenced and inspired by it. But I do think that, what's the director's name? Todd Phillips?
Todd Phillips, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that he has taken the central conceit of King of Comedy, and I don't want to say he misunderstood it, but he misrepresented it with Joker. If he was trying to do his version of it, yeah. And it's just, and I am not averse to bleak, terrible films. I like that, but this time I think it was because I had watched King of Comedy so freshly before it. I feel like if maybe I just rewatched Joker, I may not have felt that way, but it was so fresh. Then watching Joker, it was like, I've seen the version of this story which I prefer.
Yeah.
And this is another one which is great in its own merits, but because this one's already done it better, yeah, you know. Right down to, here are some of the littler things that I'm like, fucking hell, King of Comedy. The last scene when Joker is running from the orderlies at the end of the hallway in the doorway. That's when he's running around in Jerry Langford's office.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
His girlfriend, this cannot be a coincidence. His girlfriend, or fictitious girlfriend, is mixed race.
Yeah. They both they look similar as well. They got the same hair,
Yeah.
He imagines he married her. And he's close to. He thinks he's closer than he
actually is. It is. They must have watched
is.
this and gone, "We're taking these. We're taking that."
Yeah. This worked. This worked.
This is why people. I mean, just because it wasn't said doesn't mean that it can't be done, kind of thing. But people were so against the fact that it was just a remake of King of Comedy. But it's like, so what? If you like the other film better, then like the other film better.
Exactly.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
I have no problem with it. But and the other thing was, introduce me as the Joker, introduce me as the King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact
both
as
in
well
a deck of cards as well.
On the front cover of the film, or the poster of the film, he's literally on a Joker card.
Oh, is he?
Yes. Is the Jerry Langford's on a King card, and he's on the Joker card.
Excellent. I mean, the two are going to be ingrained for better or worse going forwards. But I mean, I would rather. I can see myself continuing to watch King of Comedy and enjoying it.
Yeah, I also downgraded. So I think in the podcast they gave Joker a 9, and it's actually kind of an 8 now. Which is not
a knock to Joker, because
no.
that's
I just don't remember. I think I remember just enjoying it more at the time than I did.
Yeah,
I do think it did suffer from the criticism it got. In my opinion, that I did think, oh yeah, I can see a lot of where this is coming from.
I mean, there is perhaps a leg to stand on, where if you release King of Comedy alongside Joker nowadays, Joker is the one that would field the most criticism, because it would say, unlike King of Comedy, you've got an ending which represents mental illness as the saviour of all these incelish white men.
Yeah, he's the hero in the end.
Yeah, where by comparison, King of Comedy has someone who suffers from mental illness becoming famous and everyone sitting at home laughing at them. Now that is, I would say, more true to life, that people sit back, laugh at people like that as long as they're entertaining them. But that person gets famous in the meantime, and to hell with what happens with your fame.
Yeah, Joker becomes famous for what he did, like the horrible things he did, whereas Popkin becomes famous because he seems like just from his comedy. That's what people are watching him for. Yeah, and slightly to do with how he got that fame.
Yeah,
but not act.
I would like to know what Scorsese thought of Joker. In fact, come on, there must be opinions on that. Scorsese.
That is the nuts thing, though,
Joker
isn't it? Like, when Joker
opinion.
first came about, it was like, Scorsese's doing this film. He's producing this film. But he never, ever had anything to do with it.
Was he not? You might have got
that's
given a
right.
producing credit for King Comedy then.
He said Martin Scorsese said that he didn't want to get involved with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, but did acknowledge the influence his films had on it. Asked for his opinion on the movie. The director said that he was fascinated by the fact that it's influenced by King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. And it's true. It is both, because that Taxi Driver, the whole putting the gun to his head stuff as well, plus his anger. See, that's the thing, I guess, which could be a criticism, is that King of Comedy works so well because it restrains all of that violence back. You don't need it. It's effective without that.
Yeah, it's like a combination between the two, really, isn't it, Joker?
Yeah, because he combined the two, it was like, well, you're trying to have your cake and eat it with that violence. But I did find it very distressing to sit through. Much more distressing this second time.
Absolutely. It is a fucking distressing film, but I kind of live in that and I love it.
Yeah.
I like to be affected when I watch films.
Hey, I do too. I just think the intent behind it came from a more miserable, cynical place than it should have.
That's fine, yeah. I get that.
Should we give our scores?
Yeah, let's do it. It's me first, I guess, isn't it?
Yes.
It is.
My score hasn't changed since I first watched it. It is still an 8 out of 10. I think it's a great film. It is it's a high 8. It's a high 8. It's touching that 9, but it just doesn't ever get there.
What holds it back for you?
It's just, I think it's just a big. There's not a big bang at the end. Like it's and the funny thing is, I never watched this until after Joker as well. So maybe that has kind of soured my. It's not that I don't enjoy it, but because of what I thought was coming from the Joker, and it was inspired so much in it, I thought it would end a different way. But that's the only reason. I still think it's fucking great.
It'd be interesting if it had been reversed, like if you had seen King of Comedy first and then seen Joker, and likewise if I'd seen Joker first and then seen King of Comedy. Very good, Adam.
I'm exactly the same as Paul. It stays an 8. It's very, very close to a 9. In my opinion, I don't know what's stopping it getting a 9. I just feel like it's a little bit of your heart over your head kind of thing. But it's an 8, but it's a very high 8.
Very, very high 8. Well, it's a 9 from me because the only thing that stops it from being a perfect 10 is the Sandra Bernhard final act bits, which was a bad performance from her in that final act. It was a bad choice by Scorsese in that final act to spend so much time with her and kill the momentum. And I also didn't like Jerry's sedate reaction to it the whole time, just sitting there. It was like, I've believed this character now that he's just sitting there and accepting it. I want him to be saying some shit. And then when he gets up and punches her, I don't find it satisfying either way. I don't find it satisfying that he hits her, but I also don't find it completely objectionable that he does, and I'd prefer that he didn't.
Yeah. I get that, absolutely.
But everything else is absolutely perfect. So that means 8, 8, 9. That gives us for you boys, that gives us an 8.33. Listeners, we're about to go away and decide where this place is, and then we'll come back to you. Well, lovely. Okay, so listeners, we took a little time out there to assess our rankings because there's a lot of films that are on 8.3, and we decided that it was better than all of them, which means it beats the top of the 8.3 deck, which is Buster Scruggs, but it sits below Judas and the Black Messiah, which Katie and Oti brought to us. So it is very close to the top 20 films of all time, but not quite in there, unfortunately, but it's in a very lofty position indeed.
There we go.
See, the problem with that list is I had kind of more of a trouble picking at the bottom of the list rather than at the top of the list.
I know, but it's all committee. It's all based on majority, so we can't argue.
Until we get our fourth person in, and then it ruins it.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Right, should we let you guys know what some of our Twitter followers said about this film?
Yes.
Right, first of all, we had Jamie Russell, the person who chose this whole 1982 round, and he says, "This is why I chose 1982, the year of the commercially and critically misunderstood masterpiece, The Thing, Blade Runner, and The King of Comedy. They were all films that are way, way beyond their era, and The King of Comedy is so uncannily relevant and potent to current times. Is it a comedy or a social commentary, or both? It certainly is at times a disturbing examination of toxic fandom, and it also is my favourite De Niro performance. Now I just need to work out what film will have to drop out of my top 10, as this is definitely going in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look at
That is
that.
big praise. I mean, I wouldn't put Blade Runner as a critically misunderstood film.
At the time,
Well, maybe at the time. Yeah, I wasn't around then.
They
But
all-
yeah, that's
Very good
very big
films.
talk from Jamie.
This is my least favourite of those three, though. The Thing and Blade Runner top this.
I put The Thing, this, and then maybe Blade Runner.
no, I'd put this above both, but I'd put this, then Blade Runner, then The Thing.
That's surprising. I thought you would love Blade Runner.
I do love Blade Runner, but it's a 9. That's a fucking film that I love, mate.
Interesting. Okay.
The tens I really hold back on the tens. I need to have some complete,
Yeah.
absolute. This is perfection without a flaw.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Next up, we have here from Mark from Movie Drone. Said we covered this on EP 47. Nice little plug there. I don't think I appreciate it as much as I should, although I gave it a 79. They do it out of 100.
They do.
Yes.
You can tell Adam's never listened.
I
Please don't
listen
be
all the time.
offended, boys. He
I never
doesn't listen
listen.
to this podcast
Yes.
either.
You guys should have great fun with it, and I can't wait to hear what you think.
Well, you heard it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You heard it all. 79. Sounds like you agree with Paul and Adam. See, we were talking about this. The way that they do it, it actually makes sense. Because when we went on to talk about Cliffhanger with them, we had to give our ratings out of 100. And what it makes sense in terms of placing whether a film should
Is
round
better.
up to 8
yeah.
or stay at a 7. Because if you're thinking it's 78, 79, that's an 8. But if you'd go, no, that's... So, like, put a mark out of 100 for King of Comedy. I would say
I'd go like
91,
88.
92. You'd go 88. So, in my mind, you should be rolling that up to a 9.
If he doesn't hit the 9.
It's not about hitting the 9. Roll up. So, what I would say is, in order to get a 10 score for me, the film has to be 95% or more.
I think for me, it's like how strong your opinion of that 8 is within that 10 bracket. So
Yeah.
out of feeling for me, it would probably be like an 87. But yeah, in maths, it would round up to a 9.
Yeah.
But I still would not put it to that 9.
Yeah.
But then, because they're 10, if you're giving something a 10, it's a perfect film. So there's only 100 you can have.
No, it's perfect, but you can have like a few percentiles of imperfections. Like the Sandra Bernard thing for me is not just a 2 or 3% deduction. That's like quite a significant thing. Like if I were to look at my 10s, I'll find things in there which is like, you know,
Yeah, I get that.
it's just about how significant. Anyway,
Well, thanks guys. Thanks for your reviews there. And that is the end of King of Comedy. So Ben, it's your turn to tell us what film we're doing next. I've no idea.
well, I tell you what, boys, this has been the hardest year to pick for because I didn't want to do something very well known. I didn't want to do something so abstract that just no one would care or really want to listen. So, and I also didn't want to do anything that any of us had seen before. So I finally settled on what I think hopefully will produce a very good conversation. And even if it doesn't, it seems like the film's going to be great. So
Okay.
none of us have seen it. It's very... I hope it does. It goes for a good episode. I really don't know. It just depends how the film plays out. This is a film directed by Sidney Lumet,
Okay.
written by David Mamet, who wrote Glengarry Glen Ross,
Oh, yes.
and starring Paul Newman.
Oh,
And it is a film that none of us have seen called The Verdict. 1982's The Verdict. It's a courtroom drama.
oh yes. Yeah. I
Which
now have
is,
a recollection of seeing the picture of it.
It seems it gets a lot of high scores. Let's watch and talk
Baccarat
and
blind.
see. Baccarat blind on it for the most part.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
not done a courtroom drama before, so
No.
see. I was
Bang up.
wiggling my glasses as I said that. So there we
Well-
go. It's a stream rental, I'm afraid. You're going to have to pay a rental fee.
Cool. That's fine. Absolutely fine. I'm bang up for it.
Good.
Right, so we move on to our patrons have to say this week. Just to let everyone know, we got our Patreon channel, www.patreon.com/filmbusters. We have exclusive episodes on there. You can pick films and stuff, and you can become a member, just like the likes of our newest member of our Patreon channel, Andy Bishop.
We also have Ben from Full Vloggers, who is a new addition to our patrons.
Yes, new addition to our patrons. We also have Mark and Steve, both from the Movie Drone household.
We trap them both. We also have Home Video Hustle, Brent.
Yes, we do. We have Jason Clarkson.
Jason Clarkson. Whenever I hear that name, I always think of the actor from Terminator Genesis. You know, the one who played John Connor.
Oh,
But
yeah.
not really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't his name Jason Clarkson?
Is it?
I think it is.
Is it, though?
Well, maybe it's none of those names. Let me quickly IMDb that. I'll IMDb that while I say we also have Luke Human, the eloquent Luke Human.
Yes, and we also have Fiona Stewart, the massive Joaquin Phoenix fan. I'm sure she liked Joker.
Oh, she might have enjoyed. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. She probably hates King of Comedy.
That person's name is Jason Clark. I was pretty close.
Oh, there you go.
We also have Sean Pan and Nicholson, who we'll be hearing from very shortly. And Ben also had the delight of going on his podcast.
Oh, I did. What a lovely man. It should be out by now, so please go and listen to his podcast, 4 Songs and a Dream. It was a joy to join him, and he allowed me to be very self-indulgent and talk about music and my life. It was lovely.
Yes.
Can't wait to listen.
I actually might listen to that one.
Good. We also have our fellow, not our fellow because we're not involved. He's from America and Texas and Albuquerque and all the places. Nerd Revert.
Yes.
Yes, all the places.
Yeah.
Then we have the Texan, Mr. Julio, from the Contrarians podcast.
Yes.
He's like Paddington. He comes from Peru.
Oh, yes,
So
he's just like Paddington.
So you can't trust him.
He's a little bear.
He comes packaged like a little bear, a little cutie pie, but you can't trust him. Julio, do you like marmalade sandwiches?
I bet he does. I bet he loves those marmalade sandwiches.
We also have the reason why we're in 1982. We have Jamie Russell.
Jamie. And then last and not least, we have Katie and Oti, the great collaborators, who will be joining us very soon.
They will indeed. Thank you, all our patrons.
Thanks, all those lovely lots.
So basically, they tell us what they've been watching the past week or so, and they say whether it's been bad or whether it's been good, and we have a little chat about it. First of all, we have Luke Human, and he says, amazingly, no bad movie this week, despite watching Welcome to the Jungle, which I think Jean-Claude Van Damme's in that film. And I don't think I'll ever watch it. But, you know, the best was easily...
I thought that was The Rock.
I know. I think it's another film called Welcome to the Jungle. Maybe. I might be making it up. The best was easily 1994's Muriel's Wedding. This was nothing like I was expecting after having actively avoided it for nearly 30 years, which is stupid because I love Australia's filmmaking output, disproportionately to any other nations. I don't know why I broke that sentence up like that, but there you go. As much a poignant coming-of-age drama as it is a comedy, there is much charm as there is depth. Colette gives what to me was a predictably amazing performance, and is no wonder at her subsequent success. She is able to sell the fairly morally bankrupt Muriel as a genuine sympathetic character. However, the writing is of real gold in this, and it's clear that the screenplay is a considered piece of work. Deserving its classic status, it's a shame this was marketed so superficially in the UK and that I took so long to getting around to it. It's a 9 out of 10 from Luke.
Well, I'm very happy about that. I haven't heard of it or seen it or...
It's a great
anything
film.
to add to it.
Yeah, I've never watched it.
It is a very, very good film. I totally get what he means about the way that it's marketed in the UK, because I remember avoiding it for a fair while there as well, because it's just her in a wedding dress with like confetti raining down on her, and at the time anyway, I was like, oh right, chick flick. But it's like, it's the anti that. It's like she is her own woman. She's just a woman who's like, yeah, well, it's not about getting married and being a mother. It's also just my life experience, right? And she's great. It's very funny and it's very sweet, and yeah, Australian filmmaking for the win.
Well, I'll move that up the watch list.
Good. Lots of ABBA in it, if you like that.
Lovely bit of ABBA.
I don't like too much ABBA.
Oh dear.
I have a little bit of ABBA, but not too much ABBA.
Yeah, I thought you were the dancing queen.
Thought you were a super trooper.
Young and sweet, only 17.
I thought it was Young and Free, wasn't it?
Well, whatever.
Anyway.
Is it?
I don't know. Anyway,
Just feel the beat on the tambourine. That's all that matters.
Next up, we have Sean Penn.
Eddie Vedder was throwing out tambourines left, right, and centre at their Pearl Jam gig at the
You've
weekend.
interrupted me like
I saw.
7 times on this podcast today.
Oh, sorry. Let me just tell you. I don't know why he had so many tambourines. He never played a tambourine during the whole gig, but he kept going to the side of the stage and he would bring 3 tambourines and he would chuck in the audience. He must have chucked out about 40 tambourines.
Did you get one?
I didn't, alas.
Merchandise. Tambourine merchandise.
Yeah, you had to pay to take it out of the festival.
Probably.
When you on the door, they were like, you have to pay 20 quid for that. And you're like, oh, fuck it, here's 20 quid.
Most certainly.
You would do, because you just got it off him.
Sorry, I won't interrupt you this time. Sorry.
Next up, we have Sean Penn and Nicholson. He says...
Whistling.
I know.
Whistling.
Have
you lost a tooth?
as well?
I'll have some super sweet soup, please.
Tooth.
And some sesame seeds.
He doesn't really want to say this.
Come on, Sean.
Sean Penn and Nicholson, and he says, I've not been watching much recently, but I did sit down with my wife.
I did get down to the city.
Oh, we're never going to make it through the end of this podcast.
I know, Christ.
I did get to sit down with my wife Susie and watch Nicolas Cage in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and he loved it. He really embraces the role, and it takes the ever-longing piss out of himself while having a fun bromance with Pedro Pascal. I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish, and I know the plot is a bit cookie cutter, but it doesn't matter. The characters and the dynamic were more than enough for me. I completely agree with you, Sean. It is a wonderful, wonderful film. It's just great fun. And it's exactly what you want it to be. And Nicolas Cage is exactly who you want him to be in it.
Paul, when are you going to see this film?
It's out on Blu-ray and stuff now.
Whenever it's properly out on streaming.
It is on. It's on streaming now.
Well,
It's out on
we'll
Blu-ray
maybe
or
watch
that
it soon.
I was going
Seems
to buy
to-
it for you as a wedding present, but it was too early.
Too
You should have moved your wedding again for it.
Well, it's a nice thought.
I'll see
I'm
how
looking forward to it. Yeah.
I'll see how I feel when the time comes.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Jamie Russell, who says, lots of TV series watching for me over the past few weeks, but the one film that I did see was an absolute banger. After Hours feels similar to The King of Comedy in that it's another underappreciated Scorsese film, so I'm very pleased to have finally checked it out. Don't be deceived by the, for Scorsese standards, short runtime, as this is absolutely packed with anxiety and incident throughout. If only one of the film busters had done a guest spot for such a film, huh? Ooh. Segue to a plug for Adam's appearance.
Yes, I did. I did one for After the Kids Go Down on that film a while back. You can check it out now. I believe it is. It's out. Yes, it is out. I remember it being out.
It's out.
It's out.
He just knows everything we're doing. Jamie remembers
does.
more of what we've done than we've done.
He is our producer, of course.
He is.
Yes, unofficial producer. Yes,
Bless.
it's a great film. Again, wonderful, wonderful film.
We spoke about this film so much, and I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah, you need to see that. That's your blind spot for this year. Get that
It
scene.
is. I need to get a scene.
Yeah, it's great. Wonderful. And that's all from our patrons.
That's it, and that's the end of the episode.
Oh, good.
Look at that. That was a great
Ben's going
episode.
to make it go on for another 10 minutes here.
No, I won't. I know we've got a patron to record, so I'll be
I know.
tight.
And it's now lunchtime as well.
Oh, it
Yes,
is.
I'm gonna have a little fruit smoothie for lunch today because I'm going to the pub after.
Oh, nice. Throw all that up.
I know. Smoothie and beer combo, lovely.
But yes. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Yes, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time on what is it called, Ben?
The Verdict. Paul Newman's The Verdict. Get it watched. It's Sidney Lumet.
Yes.
Oh, Lumet.
We're doing classy stuff this time.
We
So
are.
push your glasses up your nose.
Oh, I
Then
will
we'll
do.
bring them down again and stamp all over them.
Well, yeah,
Yes,
we probably
exactly. If anyone can do it, we can.
Fieldbuster.